Good morning again, guys. Still Saturday, which is a good thing. Hopefully we're out doing something, because as soon as I finish recording this, I got work to do. So let me ask you this. What do Interlaken, Florida, Port Carbon, Pennsylvania, Mount Airy, North Carolina, Bessemer City, North Carolina, Missoula, Montana, and El Paso, Texas have in common? Besides the fact you probably haven't heard of most of them. Every one of those places in the last week, a good guy with a gun has stopped a bad guy with a gun. Okay? And most often it has been, with the exception of El Paso, it's been somebody breaking into a house and the homeowner getting rid of the threats. Okay? If you think it can't happen to you, there's 6 cases in the last 7 days where it's happened to somebody. Okay? With the exception of El Paso, which was in a mall, and that was teenagers deciding to go shoot people in the mall, and a legal handgun owner neutralized the threat. The rest of them were all in people's houses. The other thing they all had in common was they were all my age and older. Let's put it that way. Okay? Where are the bad guys going? They're going to the homes where they figure the residents are not as much of a threat. Oops, that was a mistake. Okay. And they also go where somebody may have potential valuables that they can get. You know, your 22-year-old, even though he thinks he deserves them, probably doesn't have a whole lot of jewelry or cash laying around or anything like that. Okay. So they go after our age group, which means we need to be well versed in what we can and what we cannot do to protect ourselves. Now, the first thing I'm going to say in anything like this is make sure you check your state laws, because every state law is different, whether or not you can even own a weapon. Don't get me on the Second Amendment here. Okay? Yes, you should be able to anywhere. I agree. But whether your state has stand your ground laws, whether your state has castle doctrine laws, whatever it would be. Now, the other thing I want to remind everybody is, because we are still in a situation now where it is not, where we have laws, okay? We are not in the Wild West. It is not a without rule of law scenario. We still have laws. There are 2 completely different standards in which whatever you do is defensible, in a criminal court and in a civil court. Now, if somebody breaks into your house and you shoot them in the doorway or in the living room or wherever, they've come up to your bedroom, whatever it is, you're on pretty solid ground across the board. Okay? They're in your house uninvited, doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. You're defending yourself. But what if they're outside beating on the front door, trying to break in? Okay? They haven't breached the door yet. They haven't got in. Can you shoot them or not? That's a question. Okay? And it's been taken to court numerous times. There was one, and I don't remember what the case was. This is in Louisiana a few years ago. But there was a case in Louisiana where a couple of kids went to the wrong house for a Halloween party. And the homeowners thought that they were breaking in or trying to break into the house, because going to a party and rattle doors and things like that. And the homeowner eventually shot one of the kids based on all, and the kids were outside, okay? Homeowner had opened the front door and shot one of the kids. Based on the evidence, the criminal courts said it was a justified shooting. The civil courts took him to the cleaners. He got sued by the kid's family, and X amount of dollars later, this guy was just bled dry. You need to know what the laws are, what you're able to do. Okay, there's something called curtilage, all right? And for those of us that live out in the country, this is important that you know what that is too in your area. Now, inside your house is pretty standard for castle doctrine, okay? What about your front porch? Okay, that's not inside your house, but that's still the home. What if you're like me and have a detached garage and there's somebody in there doing something? What about a shed, a barn, something? Okay, it's not your home. You need to know those laws. What are your capabilities? What are you legally allowed to do and not allowed to do? Because it's a whole lot more important that you know this now before the situation ever happens than later after the situation. You'd rather hear it from reading on the internet or listening to me or God knows anybody else who's talking about it, rather than hear it from a judge saying, sorry, Mrs. Jones, you were wrong. We're awarding, Billy Blue Hair and his family, we're awarding him $10 million. I'm sorry, you just lost your property, your car, all your valuables, et cetera, et cetera. You're destitute, and he's got everything you need or everything you own. 6 cities in the last 8 days. That's a lot of defense. I'll give you this one. By FBI figures, they say, and the FBI admits this, okay, the news media will never tell you this part, that somewhere between 500,000 and 1.5 million crimes a year are prevented by good guys with guns. Okay? That means, if you use their figures, roughly 15,000 lives are saved a year by good guys with guns. The media will never tell you that. Okay. Pretty simple stuff here. They don't want you to own guns, like the bad guys are ever going to give those up. And everybody agrees with me on that one. Their laws don't apply to the guys who are gangbangers in Chicago. They're, oh my God, I can't go steal another pair of sneakers. I can't shoot the opposing drug dealer. They don't care. Okay. They made a law, right? Like the laws have ever mattered. But when they come after you, are you ready? I mean, not only do you have the equipment to do it, do you have the mental capacity to actually pull the trigger against another human being? Okay. But do you have the knowledge knowing that before you pull that trigger, you're not getting yourself in a whole ton of trouble? Somebody's out spray painting your car on the front yard. In some states, yes, you can. In some states, no, you can't. Look at the McCloskey case. Remember that couple in St. Louis that were out when you had BLM breaking down the gate at their house and stuff like that? They got hit with felony charges. They eventually pled them down to misdemeanor charges until the governor pardoned them. Okay, but they had their guns confiscated. They didn't shoot anybody. They just had them out. Okay. What was their mistake? They were out in the driveway with them, pointing them at people. Nobody did anything. If somebody would have tried to break in a window, they would have been perfectly justified shooting. But they became the aggressor when they started pointing weapons at people. You have to know the difference. It's definitely something worth researching and studying for your local area. If you're out to breakfast tomorrow morning after church and you see the sheriff in town at the local diner or whatever it is, spend 5 minutes to talk to him. Ask him, says, okay, Sheriff, what can I do and what can't I do? Because I guarantee you the laws are different in Florida than they are in Chicago. Pinball out.